All right, let's start. How are you, George?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Pretty cool, I gotta say.
Norman,
got a really nice setup.
Thank you. Norman doesn't even know you're here.
Norman doesn't know? You're cheating on Norman
I'm
with
cheating
me?
on Norman. Well,
God.
he's gone this Saturday. Today is Thursday.
Is that when you guys usually record?
We usually record Saturdays.
Friday. Today's Friday.
Yeah, today's Friday. I'm so off. But okay, so today's Friday. We usually record Saturdays. I was gonna have Craig on today Saturday, but he says he can't make it. That's what you're my backup.
He's always doing something.
Well, it's because the Saturdays is after work.
I basically am a not as good Craig. Yeah.
No, you're up there. Like you're one of the people I want to have on.
I
talked about you in the first podcast.
Yeah, I do. I watched that one. Yeah.
I still think you should start your own YouTube video. YouTube channel.
I have a Google Docs file with like 10 different. I have one file that's like 10 different video ideas, and then another file that's like 3 different channel styles.
Yeah.
That like I would like to explore.
If you want, we can just test
several
stuff
of
out.
those have been floating around for a while, and I've never bothered.
Let's
with
do
them,
something.
So yeah,
we
I really
help you
should. That would be good. Yeah, I could use a kick in the ass.
I probably can't edit something to your liking. Because I don't edit this. We just play the video. I'm not going to use graphics. I don't even know how to put a picture on freaking... Like, add a picture to a video. Yeah, I don't know how to do anything.
I could learn, though. I'll just hold my phone up to the camera.
We could do that. When we do the hot ones next week. Actually, I don't know if we're going to record it next week.
Well, what you could do is just record a clip prior.
Yeah, that's
or something like that.
That's what I'm probably going to do.
And then add that in. Or post even,
One thing I want to get is a steady cam. Like just
to the one that goes on the chest.
Nothing crazy, just something you can hold.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna be running around with it. I'm just gonna hold it steady, just to record.
Those are really cool. I actually used one of those once.
Like the big one.
Yeah, the one that straps on. In
How?
This. So my cousin went to Emerson in Boston, which is a big like film and like various production related school, and she was doing a like short film production thing here in New York, and they had a sequence in the subway, and you are supposed to get permits and stuff for that kind of thing. And those are expensive for a student film project, so they didn't. So they needed some extra hands, so she called me up and I helped her out in this thing. So just imagine suspiciously wandering around the subway with a duffel bag full of equipment and waiting for a platform to empty, like mostly, so that they could film the scene that they wanted to in there. And it's them walking along, so I actually got to put the thing on.
I feel like when this channel grows, we're gonna end up doing stuff like that.
That would be great. Yeah.
I'm not gonna go through no permits. I'm not gonna ask for permission. I'm just gonna do it.
Well, there's a long tradition of that in Hollywood, even in. What is it? Midnight Cowboy, the super famous, I'm walking here. Scene when
they were I remember
they're filming without a permit, and when
that's an actual taxi cab, right?
Yeah, it's an actual cab, not part of the movie. That scene was totally improvised, and when he slams his hand on the cab, he was annoyed at the guy for messing up the shot, and he said he was about to say, "Can't you see we're filming here?" And instead, what came out is, "I'm walking here."
In character, right?
Yeah. He ended up, managing to stay in camera.
Tight.
But
those are my favorite things.
Usually, those are the best.
Like the improvised scenes.
Yeah.
Like the one in the Django Unchained, where
I don't know. With the glass.
Yeah.
In
the Django Unchained, Leonardo DiCaprio was like a slave owner. And he slams a cup or something, and he cuts his hand. And just to play the character off, he rubs the blood on like the slave girl.
And she's got this. Yeah, I did know that one.
That one was a little disturbing.
She's got this look on her face, like where it works so well in the scene, but she's actually like freaked out because he just rubbed blood on her face. Yeah.
That scene got ruined for me though, because I knew about that scene before I watched the movie.
Oh no!
Because I used to watch Mojo a lot. And it had top 10 scenes that were improvised, top 10 whatever. So I watched. Also, that kind of ruined a bunch of stories, like the endings of a bunch
of
movies.
You gotta, skip ahead of ones that you
don't
know.
But the thing is that I'm so interested in them because they're so. Because
spoilers.
Late in my life, I realized that I really do love filmmaking and making movies and stuff, which I have no experience doing. I just like the idea of it. That's a big reason why we're doing this. But as a kid, I would just watch oh, how this movie was made, and all the little top tens.
Without having seen the movie?
Yeah, without seeing the movie. So I know about a lot of movies, but I've never seen the movies. Like, I know how they made Space Odyssey, 21 Space Odyssey. Yeah. And they use, like, a whole, like, cabin that spins to make it look like they're floating in space.
Yeah.
But I've never seen the movie. So
it's a great movie. Well,
I mean, I have to watch it.
It's very different pacing from, like, a modern movie.
Yeah, so I've seen a couple weird movies that are weird pacing. Like, right now, I just watched this. I have this film analysis class where we watch this movie called
that's cool.
Playtime by Jacques Tati, which is a French director. And it's supposed to be a silent film, but it takes place in the 60s where there's already audio and color and everything. So the way he plays it off is that he makes it look as if you're looking out a window onto a crowded area.
Oh,
so
interesting.
you could see everybody, you could hear everybody, but you don't know what they're saying.
Right.
So in the film, there's a bunch of things happening at the same time. You don't focus on one character. You see them come and go, and you vaguely hear what they're saying, but because of their gestures and the way they're acting, you kind of know what they're talking about.
Oh, that's
so the example.
Yeah.
The example he uses is that he's looking out a window. He sees a cop car pull a car over. You don't know what's happening, but you know they're kind of arguing about something, or they're doing this or they're doing that.
From the gestures.
Yeah. So the movie is very complicated. So if you watch it one time, you think it's boring, but there's a million things happening.
Right, and you have to watch out for
You have to watch out.
It reminds me of...
it's also a comedy, too.
There's a Hitchcock movie called Rear Window, which is one of his more famous ones. It's actually... I think I read... it's like the largest set ever built or something like that. Or at the time it was, maybe. I don't know about now. But it's a guy in his apartment. He's like a photographer, like a sports photographer or something, and he breaks his leg so really badly. So he's like stuck in his apartment for weeks.
Oh,
it's like down in the village or something. Yeah. So his balcony and back window watches like 4 other apartment buildings in a square, and he's just like gets into the habit of they basically remade it with Shia LaBeouf, and they made the murderer guy.
I seen a parody on the 70s show,
or whatever the hell that was called. Yeah. So he watches everybody, and he ends up witnessing
like a murder.
Yeah, this guy who kills his wife, and but he doesn't. I forget what the thing is. He can't tell who it was or something. There's a whole complicated story to it, but it's just got a lot of cool visual techniques where you watch kind of the other buildings, and each one is like an individual set with actors in it, but it's all happening at once. It was a cool movie.
Have you ever seen the 70s show?
Yeah. Well, I didn't watch it that closely.
So I watched it a lot. Like, it's one of my favorite shows. There's a Halloween episode where Fez breaks his leg, and he's stuck in Eric's room looking out the window, and he sees Donna's house. And that whole episode is basically parodying a bunch of Hitchcock movies. So it's that one, I don't know what you called it, the window?
Rear Window.
Rear Window. So where he looks out the window and sees a murder. There's birds where
cool.
Kitty has to go feed the neighbor's birds, and she gets attacked by a bunch of birds.
That's funny.
It has a scene from Psycho where I think Kelso's taking a shower in Laurie's room. Yeah. Laurie comes in. He gets scared. He squeezes like a shampoo bottle, and it has the blood circling.
Of course.
And then has vertigo because how Fest breaks his legs. Yeah. How Fest breaks his leg is he falls off the
water tower or something.
He falls off the roof.
Oh, the roof. Yeah. Okay.
Go, we're back on. Okay, it's good. It didn't freeze.
Nice.
I just cut this little part out.
Yeah,
or not. Who cares? It's not like we have millions of views. We got a couple of views, but
they're
quality
like that,
views,
Victor.
though.
Because what happens is, a year from now, it's going to be the #1 podcast, and people are going to be like, "How did this start?" And they're going to go back and watch the older episodes.
That's what I'm always thinking about. That's one reason when we started this podcast, I didn't want it to look shitty. I didn't want it to sound shitty. I was like,
gotta be quality right from the beginning.
Well, yeah, because I don't have another option. I'm not gonna do nothing with my degree. Me and my brother dropped out of college.
That's just your personal drive.
Yeah.
To achieve quality,
fame, fortune, and drugs.
Cue every other famous YouTuber who's like, when I started out, I didn't expect anything to happen.
Victor's I expected everything.
I want to be #1.
Well, the thing is that I don't want to work in an office. I don't want to work for somebody.
I think that's a lot of people's
last
resort.
A lot of people don't do anything about it. They just keep saying it and they just follow this one path because they don't know what to do.
Victor.
That's why I'm trying to get you to do YouTube or do something that's that you want to enjoy. But the point is that a lot of people don't do it and they say they're gonna do it later and then never do it, and then they get to a point where it's too late, where they have kids, where they have a family, they have people to support, and they're stuck working a 9 to 5, hating their life forever, and then they kill themselves, and it's great.
Sad.
It's not that sad.
What an American tragedy.
But you know what I mean. So I mean, I'd rather do it now. It's fun. It's just fun to do it, right? Like coming over, just talking to each other. It's pretty fun. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, then
you get the office job a year from now.
Then,
but at least you've made the habit too.
Yeah.
You know? You put the time in.
If this doesn't work out
in the beginning,
I would like to use this as put this on my resume and try to get like a job at I don't know, like
media production
kind of or advertising or something, just in the similar to this. But the general idea is to build my own company or build our own company, because I got my brother and I got Norman here.
Well, yeah, ideally.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean,
that's always the dream, is like be your own boss, right?
Yeah. Or I don't necessarily have to be my own boss, but I definitely don't want to be told what to do. I don't want to be like, let's say we blow up and a company's like, oh, we'll buy you out, but now you have to do what we say. I gotta think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it could happen.
There's real danger there. That big what's it called? Those media conglomerate groups that sponsor different YouTubers and stuff.
Yeah, like Dreamer. Like what's it called? Like the
there's a bunch, but
Machinima.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Fuck those guys.
The one collapsed. You know,
Machinima
and
collapsed.
Was it Machinima I'm thinking of? And they like swindled a bunch of money out of the earnings of a ton of YouTubers, including like really big channels like Game Theory and Film Theory, MatPat's channels. He was in their conglomerate. He said it's a famous video. I'm sure people know it, but he said they stole almost $2 million in earnings from him. Over like a year or whatever. It was in trust, and then it's like, oh, it's being held until this day, and then he wakes up one morning and it's like the company's kaput, and all those earnings over that year that was supposed to come to him is just, well, it's gone. That's
why you don't. Like, the first offer that comes, you don't take it.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think a lot of... that's the same problem you have in every, the lottery winner who, like, buys the $1 million house with their $1 million jackpot, not thinking about the property taxes and all the upkeep they're going to need. It's always, it's hard to... You hit that first taste of, like, fame or, exceeding an expectation, and it's hard to measure yourself after that.
The good thing about... knowing you're gonna be successful, like me. I'm just kidding. Who knows? But the point is that we are aware that we have to watch out for a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. We have to watch out for what we say, what we do, because it could always come back to bite us in the ass later. For example, I say something.
Somebody looks up your tweets from 10 years ago.
Yeah, and I get fired from making the Guardians of the Galaxy 4 or whatever. But what I'm saying is we have to be careful. But we know we have to be careful because I think a lot of times, especially on YouTube, people blow up and they didn't expect to blow up.
Yeah.
And then they're fucked, right? They did something they're not supposed to do, or they can't handle the fame or the fortune, and now they're...
it messes a lot of people up. But, it happens in traditional media, too. You have all the, like Macaulay Culkin and, like these child stars who went on to have really, unfortunate later lives because they weren't, like, grounded. Or in music, what's her name?
Like Justin Bieber or something.
Well, yeah, he's a good example.
Demi Lovato.
He's a real basket case with the way it went to
the
his
good
head.
Thing
but,
about us, me, Norman, and my brother, we already struggled. We already learned our lessons. Kind of, in a sense. Like, I obviously haven't lived long enough to know everything, but we are aware that we have to be careful. And
Kesha, that's what I was thinking of.
Kesha?
Yeah, she signed a deal with with her first record label, and obviously when you're like 19 or I don't know, whatever it was, you know, I'm not super familiar with the situation, but she signed a deal that ended up being much more beneficial to the producers and the record label, which a lot of deals are, but like it was to the point where all that stuff came out recently that the guy had been like possibly sexually abusing her, and they refused to admit that, and that's what she's accusing him of.
All she wants is just to get out of the contract.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, nope.
She'd rather like not produce any music than stay in the contract, and there was a whole lawsuit over it,
which is understandable. I wouldn't.
Well, definitely, especially with someone who's an abuser. Yeah.
But yeah. So,
but like even the type of songs she had sung was something you don't think of as like she has all those like party anthem songs from the early like 2000s. Like none of those were like the kind of music she was interested in from the beginning, and they like crafted the entire persona of the star, like, which is something you'd never think of.
But that's what everybody
being
does, though.
From the outside in.
That's what how into hip hop culture are you?
Marginally.
Do you know what
I would say
industry plant is?
Yes. You're talking about like where they, instead of waiting for lightning in a bottle, you find somebody with a nice face and just auto-tune them. Or,
or if they have a decent voice, they just like, here,
right, yeah,
we're going to make you famous.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically...
Katy Perry, supposedly, is a famous example of that.
For hip-hop, a lot of people think Travis Scott is oh,
yeah.
Because he's from Texas, and then he's like, yeah, I went to LA, and then 1 year later, I was Travis Scott. Like, I was huge. And everybody's like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. 1 year? He's like, yeah, I was waiting for like 1 year, and then I just blew up. But it could happen. Like, Bad Baby, you know who she is? The one that was in that show, Dr. Phil.
Oh, God.
And she technically just blew up out of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, good for her. I mean, who cares?
Well, I mean, if you're going to have your viral moment and then manage to roll that into something that's beyond the 15 minutes of fame, good for you, yeah. Even though she's pretty cringy, but...
Here's the thing, though. When I was in high school and, a little bit later on, I always hated the people that became famous out of stupid stuff. Like Lil Pump. I'm focusing more on music, like Lil Pump, Lil Yachty, whoever, right? Because they're not talented. And they're just kind of
well, that was Takeshi even, right?
Yeah, like they just kind of ride the wave.
Now he's kind of a meme after the trial and everything too. But like he just uploaded some stuff to SoundCloud and like ended up shooting to the top of like a bunch of like people's lists and stuff. And then all of a sudden labels and managers are contacting him. And
So the way I think is, instead of hating on them, because I used to hate on them, I'm like, oh, they don't deserve it. There's a lot of talented people out there, whatever. Now I think of it as a poor kid looking at another poor kid becoming rich, a person that didn't have opportunity now making it in the industry. So I think of it a little bit different. Because at the end of the day, these people that became famous and successful were poor people or people from a lower class,
a lot of the
right?
time. Yeah.
So
almost all the time.
You can't expect them to be crazy talented with the lack of resources. You know what I'm saying?
I see.
So I feel like when I see somebody that made it without all those resources available to them, I'm happy for them instead of hating on them. Yeah,
congratulate them on
even
that,
if they're assholes. I'm just like, whatever. Just just be positive about it. Because one thing I don't like.
Whereas then you have like Billie Eilish or somebody. Yeah. Who's like, literally both of her parents are producers at a record label.
Yeah, see, I don't like that.
Her brother's like a songwriter.
That's cringy to me. Like I have.
I mean, she's like seems like a pretty genuine person if you watch like an interview with her.
She's so cringy to me, man.
You think?
Yeah, she's like so like again. I hate the opposite, where it's like somebody that grew up in a wealthy, happy family, acting all depressed and sad about whatever.
It's kind of weird because it seems like she's like her parents' pet project to turn her or their pet project was to turn her into a star or whatever.
That's creepy.
And it worked,
That's
but like, it's weird. So it's weird in a different way though than somebody who blows up just because I'm sure I don't mean to say like they didn't put effort in. I'm sure they all put in a lot of effort. That you can't understand unless you're in a similar situation. But sometimes it does seem like really, you went on Dr. Phil and that made you famous.
But the way I see it is like, let's say you're in the Olympics and you're like from a rich family and you have all this training and you're number one, and then you have the kid that freaking was in the park doing flips and shit in the jungle gym, and he made it that far. I'm like, damn, good for him.
Well, that's your American story. That's like why, even though Rocky 4 is so bad, that's why everybody likes it, because Rocky's like training on the mountain. he's like in a barn, like lifting up like the horse, like what do you call it, like the plow, and that's what he's doing to work out. And then the Russian guy's like in a scientist like thing on like a treadmill and stuff.
That's how
Even though that's like so ridiculous, because
is it though?
Well,
is it?
I mean, not that it's ridiculous that kind of training would produce results, but America's like the capitalist giant. You have the Russians who are barely holding on by that point.
I don't know,
and it's
dude.
funny that they frame it in like the opposite way, where Rocky's all like rustic and like.
But Russians take their sports seriously, though.
They do. You know, they're banned from the Olympics.
Yeah,
you hear about this?
They freaking microdose
for doping. It's the
and
first
shit. Yeah.
time I think an entire country's athlete has been banned. They can compete without a banner. Is what was offered. Yeah. But so you can still have a Russian athlete there, but they're not allowed to be like the representative of Russia, and it's because the Russian officials were like in cahoots with the coaches and trainers who were allowing this doping to like continue. Yeah, and etc. But the point is, the whole like government initiative was to cover up the fact that their athletes are doping so that they could appear to be like, you know, more
elite.
Whatever.
How do you know this?
I don't know. I caught a news article somehow.
The reason I know is because I watched this documentary on Netflix. I was just wondering if you watched it too.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
It's about this whole scandal.
Really?
It's about this guy who is a cyclist, and he's wondering how come he can never exceed his potential. So he decides to dope. I forgot the name.
Right.
I could search it up later.
Is that the guy? He was with Armstrong at some point. Maybe I saw some.
I don't know. I don't think so. This is recent. It's not back then.
Okay. Like, there was one I watched.
They mentioned Armstrong, and then he was talking about how if you want to compete at the elite levels, you basically have to dope. Like everybody at the elite levels are doping, and he's talking about how
I've heard that. Yeah.
He's always.
It's not just doping too. It's crazy shit that they do.
Yeah.
You do know about the blood thing?
What's the blood thing?
They would. It's so wild to think about, like, that you would go to this extent, but these guys would draw their own blood in the off season and have it like stored the way like a blood bank stores, like, you know, perfectly refrigerated and whatever.
Yeah.
And then during the race, you know, these long distance races, they get time at night to like stop. So they would stop in a hotel or whatever, and they would have someone sneak in like a package, or like they would pay off the hotel or one of the maids or something to leave it in their room, like in a cooler, and they would get in there, and what they would do at night would be drain their own blood and then transfuse their old, like fresher blood that wouldn't have like the acid buildup from exerting your muscles all day. So they'd come out in the morning, and it's all their own blood, so there's nothing to test. Like, there's no results to find unless they found the equipment that allowed them to do it.
But it's just brand new blood.
But yeah, they have fresh.
Like fresh.
Yeah,
and
because
clean.
like when you work out, I forget what it's called.
Is that legal?
Something no, that's not right. Something acid that builds up from exerting your muscles.
Acid?
Lysergic, that's it. Yeah, I believe so. It gets in your bloodstream.
Lysergic acid, LSD.
Whatever.
Lysergic acid dimethylamide is LSD.
Put it on the screen what it's supposed to be.
Doesn't matter. Nobody here is a doctor.
Anyway, exerting your muscles builds up a type of acid in your blood from using them.
Which makes you sore.
Which is, yeah, exactly. And what make you feel like your muscles are burning when you're really working out hard. So adding their own blood transfusions would decrease that in there.
I thought what you were going to say is that they were doping and then took out blood while they were doping. And then later on, when their blood cleared, they took tests.
Oh, yeah.
Passed the test. And then when they were cycling, they put the doped blood back inside of them, and they're back to doping. But anyways,
it could be that there was a lot of different ways that they would do it. Yeah. So but that one blew my mind that
was
someone
crazy.
Would go that far.
Was freaking. Yeah. But that's the thing, like, money pays. Like, if you're able to freaking take blood out,
if that gets you one higher in the bracket, and then you earn another 100,000 or whatever.
In those high-end competitions, first, second, and third are like milliseconds off, though. So if that cuts like a couple milliseconds off your total runtime, you're winning.
Yeah, I remember in high school, one of my friends was he was on the swim team. He was a big swimmer for years. But I forget what it was. Like, I think we were watching the Olympics, like Phelps's Olympics. I guess this was after high school, but like he. Like the time came in or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, that's only like," he's like, "I'm like 2.5 seconds off that time," and I was like, "Whoa,
God damn,
2.5 seconds, like that's crazy or something, you know?" And he's like, or whatever it was, maybe it was like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And but he's like, "Nah, you don't understand. That's like
They're like miles.
That's like Mount Everest. Like
but
that
swimming,
difference
right?
in yeah.
But swimming is such
for like
short,
whatever dash 50 meter.
Yeah,
not dash. That's
such a
track,
short distance
but like,
though. Like when you think about it,
100-meter freestyle or whatever the standard competition is, you know.
Because let's say you run from here to this room in 10 seconds, or like here and that room in a second, and I beat you by 1 millisecond. Like that's a really short distance. But if you stretch it out for 20 miles,
well, yeah,
it becomes minutes. It becomes hours. Because swimming.
Oh, like if you were to extrapolate it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. So those 5 seconds or 2 seconds are really a lot.
A lot, yeah.
Because if you're cycling,
well, it's another sport that's decided sometimes by thousandths of a second.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But back to this documentary, this guy was his cycling time was, he was always coming out, maybe like he was never first basically. He was never the top 10, but he worked his ass off all the time. He was wondering why he would never reach that point.
Yeah.
So he started doping to reach the top 10.
And all of a sudden,
but then he doesn't know how to dope. So he found this American scientist that he was offering him to do it for him, because they have to like plan out the whole schedule and do everything
when
together.
To take it,
when, how much, when's the right time, when's not the right time.
Yeah, you probably need to know. Like, compared to your own body weight and whatnot, and etc.
So he, the American doctor who worked for the American Olympics, alongside this Russian doctor.
Oh, figures.
Yeah.
I knew a Russian would pop up in this story.
Yeah, so the American doctor was like, yeah, I can't help you, but here's this name, call this number, it's from Russia. And then the Russian and the American cyclist contact each other. He buys a plane ticket for the Russian to America, and he smuggles all his equipment. So then they do all the doping here, and he plans everything out for him. And then this whole scandal happens. The Russian doctor gets his lab taken away. All the Russian things that you were talking about earlier. Yeah, all that stuff happens while this documentary is taking place, and then the Russian guy comes to America as a refugee, or like as a asylum, because he lost all because everybody's looking for him over there. And then this guy's still trying to dope because he's still trying to finish his documentary, and he does better. But
so the documentary is being filmed in real time.
Yeah, as all this.
Okay.
I think it's called. Oh, fuck, I forgot the name. It's like,
I'll look it up later.
Yeah, it's really
good.
Put
it on the screen.
I didn't finish it. It was long, but it was really good. I might put it on the screen. I might not. Search it up.
It'll be in the description.
How I found this, I was searching up for documentaries. I searched the top 10 documentaries. I think that was one of the top 10.
Yeah,
and
with like
and then the Unabomber,
Blackfish and the Cove, and that Ted Bundy documentary.
Oklahoma Bomber. That's what it was. That was
Oklahoma
good.
City Bomber.
That was a good ass documentary.
McVeigh, right?
Yeah, all these freaking incidents are connected.
Crazy how much you could get away with then too, compared to today.
Yeah,
like that they weren't tracking anything. Like, you know what's funny? Wild.
People say you can't get away with stuff today, but then you see freaking somebody get stabbed in the streets, and you see their face, and then it's like, oh, we never know who this guy was. Yeah. Well, they're also not searching into it. I feel like people are like, he just killed a minority. He didn't kill a little.
Whoa.
I'm just messing with you.
No, but like I know with McVeigh, they stockpiled like hundreds of pounds of like gunpowder and gasoline and stuff,
and drove it.
And it didn't tick any red flag anywhere.
He drove it from a couple cities away in a U-Haul to Oklahoma before he blew it up.
That's crazy.
Do you know the whole story?
I read about him a while back, but not like. But you know,
so it starts out with this kind of like white supremacist leader. They got
I know about this.
Killed in this mountain,
Ronco Ridge.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I know
he got
about
tagged.
That. Yeah.
And then,
even though that was, I mean, the guy was like, but that was a real overstepping of the guy who they shot his wife with the baby in her arms.
Yeah,
right?
with the sniper.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Honestly.
Yeah. Either way,
they don't announce themselves as federal agents. They come onto the guy's property without any warrant or writ or formal warning to the guy, and the guy's son and his dog are out hunting, and the dog is startled by these unknown people on the property and charges at one of them, and the FBI agent shoots the kid's dog right in front of him.
Yeah.
And the kid's hunting. He's holding a rifle. There's two guys on his property who just shot his dog. So what do? He shoots back at them. He kills one of the FBI agents. And then they use that as an excuse to bring in hundreds of guys and surround this property. And then later on, they end up shooting the guy's wife while she's holding her infant unarmed.
All right. Before before we go on, who is his family? Like, who are they? I'm not saying that what the police did is the right thing, but they were freaking, I think, like, white supremacist leaders.
Yeah, well, the reason they were showing up initially to investigate was that he supposedly had a ton of guns stockpiled.
And did he?
I think that did end up happening, but they also, it was bad on both sides.
But back in that took place in the 70s or 60s, no 70s. So back in the day, all these freaking cops were outlaws, not outlaws, but like cowboys. All that shit was crazy. Yeah. And then that led.
That's when. You're talking the same period in New York. You had like Serpico and like the entire NYPD is on the take and is totally corrupt, So
same with LA. Same with what's his name?
Not that it's probably still happening, but
what was his name? The guy that got beat, and then
you talking about like Rodney King or something?
Rodney King, yeah. That was around the same time with the
a little
riots.
Later, but yeah.
But you know what I mean, like the same corrupt police.
Oh yeah.
And same, cowboy police. They just kind of do whatever they want. Yeah. Anyways, that led to the Waco incident, and the Waco incident is where this cult leader had
his compound.
Yeah, had a huge
branch
compound.
Davidians. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they were.
I know a fair bit about this one. Yeah.
What they were doing? They were stockpiling guns. Also,
it was also suspected of stockpiling guns, and then there was also
they were shooting back at police.
Well, it was also some really bad shit with them. They were like marrying off the young girls to like adult men and stuff. So it was really crazy. Bad stuff. But at the same time, then the FBI came in and killed them all and killed like 20 kids when they took the compound.
That's not what happened. What happened is that they were at a standoff for like 30 days. Yeah. First they attacked and like 5 officers got killed.
Yeah. If you don't know the story, they showed up. It's like ATF and FBI. They show up to this compound.
Yeah.
These people own like a giant ranch, think of it, with a bunch of land around it, and then a big building that has like dormitory style stuff in it and their church and whatnot. And they demand that all the guns be handed over and all the minors be allowed to leave the compound, and the people won't let them leave, but also won't let them onto the property. And eventually they try to force their way in. It turns into a gunfight, and the whole thing turns into a giant standoff. You got the FBI and the ATF surround the place, and they can't force their way in because they guys have a bunch of guns in there, and they have kids. They're afraid they're going to use them as shields or execute them or something. So it turns into like a literal like weeks long standoff.
Yeah. So this is happening.
The way they handled it was also totally reprehensible.
I think they came in with a bulldozer or a tank.
Knocked
over a wall.
Yeah.
But before that happened, or while that was happening,
what they tried to do was shoot tear gas into the compound to force everyone out. But they had like masks and stuff too, so they were staying there with the tear gas, and then they used some different type of tear gas, something or other, and
a flashbang.
What they say that happened. A lot of people say, who doubt the government version of things, say that they set the fire deliberately.
Yeah.
But the official story is that the whatever canister releaser that they sent in had a thermite element to it that allowed it to release the gas, and then that happened to spark a fire, and that was an unforeseen circumstance.
Well,
but a lot of anti-government people say they set the fire on purpose because these people were like defying them, and they were high on their own power.
In the documentary, there was audio files from inside because they had the phones tapped.
And then they brought in the bulldozer or whatever.
Yeah,
and it collapsed. An entire half the building collapsed from the fire and the thing. But like 20 kids ended up getting killed. So either way, the government was in the wrong there.
Both sides are wrong, but one is like a cult and it's crazy.
Well, they're not right. Yeah.
But the fire.
There was ways to handle that situation.
The fire was not caused by the smoke. I think the audio files later on released where it showed that all the cultists were actually pouring gasoline all around the buildings and setting the place on fire.
They set it deliberately?
For themselves.
Too, yeah.
And then, they had audio files. Who knows if they're true? It's a documentary.
Well, yeah. Then the counter argument is just, of course the government's going to tell you they set the fire themselves. They don't want the blame. But then you just get into an endless circle of...
So again, this guy who did the Oklahoma bombing, what's his name again?
Timothy McVeigh.
Yeah, so Timothy McVeigh was there during the Waco siege, and was the whole time he was like, "Fuck the government, fuck this, fuck that,"
or something.
Yeah, so
a bunch of people showed up to watch.
So then he planned the Oklahoma bombing, and then did everything, and then got caught like I don't know a couple days later. But that was crazy. What are you gonna search up?
Yeah, here, that's the correct name. I just don't want to
nah, who cares,
given
dude?
the name of the Unabomber
You'll find it.
or something.
You'll find it. No, I remember McVeigh. I don't remember the first
Kaczynski name. Is the Unabomber.
Yeah, I haven't searched him up, but
that's fascinating stuff. I mean, I was saying that earlier too. That's some of the best.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know best, but it's not exactly wholesome content.
Have you ever played?
But some of the popular podcasts are like true crime style documentary, and they talk about different.
Which we're not, so we don't have all the details.
No, okay.
I tried to one of the first episodes where we didn't release.
I don't know how we got on this topic,
but this is what I'm telling you. Like we just talk and it just goes on, and it's really interesting.
Just goes, yeah.
But one of the first podcasts, I was trying to tell Norman a story about Skinwalker Ranch, but I couldn't remember all the details.
Skywalker Ranch?
Skinwalker. I'll tell you about that in a few. So I couldn't tell him all the details. So it just turned out bad because I was trying to remember it, and it was just a lot of quiet with him listening and me trying to remember it.
And then you cut that out.
No, we didn't release it. We didn't release it. That's just when we're doing practice.
Gotcha.
Anyways, what was I gonna talk about? Oh, you know the have you ever played Rainbow Six Siege?
Yes, but not like regularly.
Do you know the maps?
Yeah.
There's this map called Oregon, and it's basically a replica of the compound they were using in Waco.
Oh, no way.
And it has like the church tower, and it has the bedrooms where the kids will be at, and it has like the yeah. So
that's pretty wild.
They also have because all the like a lot of the original maps are based on real life events. So Waco, there was they have a plane called the President's plane or whatever, like a presidential plane. And it's about
like an Air Force One kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's about an incident that happened where not our country but a different country. The prime minister got like attacked and they had to have like the SWAT team break in. I don't know the exact details. It was like Russia or Ukraine or something like that. And they had another one where there's this map called Bank, where in Russia this bank got taken over by terrorists and
that I know of. Yeah.
The Spetsnaz or whatever had to break in, but it ended up.
That's the thing with the knockout gas.
Yeah, so they killed everybody by mistake. They was just like, oh, well, fuck, we just killed.
So bad.
Such a Russian thing to do. Like, you have hostages? All right, we're gonna kill all of you.
No, the crazy part is they rescued all the hostages. You know this, right? They died.
They died in the hospital.
Man. So it was a bank robbery, I think, or it was terrorists who took over a bank, maybe.
Yeah.
And it was a siege that had gone on for like days and days. They couldn't get in. Whatever, the fire lanes were like very tight. It was like tight hallways. Yeah. And it's a bank, so it's got like thick walls and shit. It's like all concrete. They can't break in. So eventually they come up with this insane plan to pump knockout gas into the building, like that you'd use for a surgery or whatever.
Yeah.
And everyone will just fall asleep peacefully, and no one will get hurt. And obviously, once the terrorists realized that they were getting knocked out, some of them started shooting the place up and whatnot. So that was bad. But it actually worked. They knocked out most of them and all the hostages before I think a few people got killed. And then they rushed it like as it was taking effect, so that they're all groggy and they can't fight back.
Which is smart. I would do that. That's my type of idea.
Yeah. But the stupid, no one, obviously they didn't consult with a physician on like how much to safely use this knockout gas and stuff. They dragged the hostages out of the building as they were clearing it, and they were lining them up in the streets, and they laid them down, and their tongues fell back when they were laying, choked. And they all suffocated laying there in the street with 150 Russian policemen standing over them. After they were saved from the terrorists,
imagine you're one of those policemen and you look down and you're like, yeah, I think that guy died. Wait, that one died too. That's not funny.
It's like, man, they should be waking up by now. They're like slapping them.
That's really funny. But I shouldn't be laughing, but fuck it,
it is funny in a terrible way.
But yeah, so all these siege maps have backstories. Which if you play Siege, because I know I play Siege a lot, this will be very interesting. Mm-hmm. Anyways, you want to know about Skinwalker Ranch?
Yes.
So
I've never heard of.
I really like conspiracy.
I know Skywalker Ranch.
I don't know what Skywalker Ranch is.
That's George Lucas's like property in California, where he keeps all the old props and stuff from Star Wars.
Freaking nerd. Freaking nerd. All right, so Skinwalker Ranch is this ranch in Colorado, I think, or Utah, that a bunch of supernatural shit happens, like all the time.
Oh, really?
So the story is that this family, these cattle ranchers, bought this ranch, in Utah or Oregon. I forgot the name of it. Just search it up, Skinwalker Ranch. And they get there, and the previous owners don't really have that much rules, but one specific rule is don't dig in the grounds unless they're cleared by them. And the guys are just like, whatever. I mean, we just really need it for our cows, right? And it's a normal ranch. It's a lot of acres. It's really big. You probably have to drive a couple miles to reach their farmhouse. Utah? All right, Utah. So they get to this house, the brand new house, the brand new ranch, and they start noticing little weird things. For example, there's these chains and deadbolts on all the doors and windows. Oh. And these chains, heavy, big chains attached to the walls outside the house or inside the house. I don't remember. And then
so they can't be opened unless you unhook the chain, is the idea?
No. The chains are for dogs, for guard dogs.
Oh.
So they have guard dogs in every entrance, just watching the area. And then they're like, oh, whatever. Maybe they were just super safe. But they have like deadbolts on every door, every window, because they're trying to keep something out, obviously. So the family, goes on living their life. And then they set up the ranch. And I think
without their own guard dogs.
Yeah, they don't have. I think they do have dogs, or maybe I don't know. There's a lot of details. I don't remember all the details. Right. So there's a specific event that starts out everything where they're setting up these posts to keep the cattle inside.
Fence posts.
Yeah. And it's the dad, the mother, and a son. The son is old enough. I think he might be in his teens or maybe a little older. And then
that he's like helping out with them.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. They have, they're near the house, and then they see a wolf, a really big wolf, show up out of nowhere, and then they're just kind of looking at it. It looks friendly. It looks fine. It comes up to them. I think it's like 5 feet tall, like this wolf, like on his shoulders. It's huge, and then they kind of touch it, but they're not really. Like they're. It doesn't do anything. It just walks between them, and it goes to a baby cow sticking his head out through the fence and just rips his head off.
Oh my god.
And then as soon as they do that, the guy pulls out his gun. He pulls out a Magnum, a big gun.
Right.
If you don't know what a Magnum is, it's a revolver.
One of the highest caliber pistol.
It's a revolver that's really strong, and he shoots it. He shoots the animal, and nothing happens. He shoots it again. He basically wastes all his bullets on the animal, and nothing happens, right? So then he sends his son to go inside to get his AR. Comes back with the AR. The father shoots it as the animal's running away, knocks out a piece of meat, and then the wolf just runs into the forest. And then the meat,
like he shot it so much that a
chunk of meat fell out. Yeah, but the animal just kind of it dipped, and then they go to inspect the meat or the chunk that fell off.
Like rotten?
It's rotten.
I knew you were.
It's rotten, and it's stinky.
What kind of horror movie thing is this?
Yeah, but here's the thing: this happened for real. So all these first account stories they're whatever, right? They're witness stories where like this guy just told them.
Right.
But this guy has no reason to make money or whatever.
Why would he? Right.
Yeah. So then these crazy things keep happening in the farm where he sees this wolf come out of nowhere and just kind of dip and it never gets close again. They see lights in the sky. They see headlights at night, and then they see the headlights just zoom into the sky and leave.
Oh god.
They have cows just slaughtered with no blood, just like surgical cuts. And at the beginning they're thinking somebody's sneaking onto their property and killing their cows or stealing their cows. So he decides to just patrol the areas, and that's when he sees the headlights and he chases after the headlights because he thinks it's poacher
like
or something.
A car or whatever.
Yeah, but then the headlights just fly up.
Oh god.
I think at a certain point he realizes that the chains were to keep the animals out, like the wolf or whatever out, or other monsters, because weird things are happening in the house where things will go missing and then appear, or things will be moving around.
Right.
And then I think the family had it at a certain point. So the guy was gonna sell his farm, and then there's this billionaire. I don't know his name. This billionaire that separately he was like, I'm gonna build a company to investigate these paranormal activities and fund a bunch of money into it, because nobody's doing this. Nobody's funding, like creating, like getting scientists, examining these situations and seeing if they're real or not. So he's a billionaire. I forgot his name. He creates this organization. He hires the best scientists in the world, and the first paranormal activity that he finds, or the first situation, or the first event that happens is this ranch that he's aware of. So he buys the ranch off this rancher.
Oh wow!
And sets up all his equipment, all his teams and RVs and stuff in and around the ranch, and he hires the rancher to do the ranching duties, right? Because they're scientists and he's a billionaire. He doesn't know how to manage a ranch. So then the scientists see the same things as the rancher did. They see lights, they see animals, they see invisible creatures that you don't see the creature, but you see the footsteps in the water, in the ponds, and then they see a portal open to another world.
Okay, come on.
So this is what they describe it as.
Stranger Things season 3?
So it's nuts. This? I don't know if I believe it. It's whatever, right? But it's definitely interesting if you want to look into it. But they see these circles open in the sky, and then when you look deep into the circle, it looks like the sky on the other side, like a different sky. And then one time they have there's these two soldiers or these two guards or whatever on a ridge looking down, and you see the light open, and they have thermal scopes or whatever, and usually you don't see anything, but this time they see somebody crawl, like a creature crawl through it and then just run past them, and then I guess over time the scientists just stay there, and then the paranormal activity just went down and eventually just stopped, and then they just left after a couple years.
Oh god.
And I think there's crazier stuff that happened. Like there was an event where while the scientists were there, they put these big bulls in a cage, and not a cage, like this fenced off area that was really small, and then one was missing, and then found it in a different area, caged up as well, and they're like, okay, now we know that, because before maybe you put your remote down and it's somewhere else. Right, it's kind of like, I forgot, but now a whole freaking cow moved. How are you gonna? How's that gonna happen? But yeah, so I was trying to tell Norman the story. I couldn't remember all the details. Like right now, I'm trying to remember everything because I don't remember much of it.
Where did you read about this?
YouTube.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I already knew of this incident.
The reliable source that is YouTube.
So I already knew of this incident because of other shows or TV or whatever, and it kept coming up when people talked about paranormal activity. And then one time I just decided to watch an hour-long video where this guy he just talks about the events that happened and how it happened, but he doesn't necessarily try to convince you. He just tells you how it happened or how it was told. It's really interesting. Whether it's fake or not is really interesting. But the problem is that there was a actual ranch that you could go to now. There's a billionaire that investigated this. All the scientists are scientists that don't believe in paranormal activity. Their job is to disprove this. And the first thing they did when they reached the ranch is first they were testing the water to see if there's any hallucinogens or
that makes sense.
They're testing for radiation,
like fungus,
or
whatever
exactly.
infection that's gonna make you go crazy.
They're testing magnetic frequencies or waves or whatever that fuck your brain up. They're checking all this stuff and they're like, we can't explain none of this. And then they start seeing their own shit. It's nuts. I would suggest it. I want to have a conspiracy episode.
That would be a cool idea. Yeah.
The thing is that because I don't remember that much details, I have to prep for it. And I have to write everything down. First, but the good thing about Norman is that he doesn't like scary stuff, so he never researches it. He never.
So you can freak him out with the stories.
I could freak him out. Nice. Last week, the episode that's not gonna be released because I fucked up the audio. We were talking about sleep paralysis and dreams, and it was a really good conversation. But we were alone. Like right now, we were alone, and he was hearing stuff in the back, and he was getting freaked out. I don't know. It's a big apartment, so you I think the door's shut.
And there's neighbors and stuff.
Yeah. So he was like, "Yo, do you hear that?" I'm like, "No." But yeah, so I don't know, dude. I got a bunch of these little scary stories.
Have you ever experienced sleep paralysis?
Yeah, we talked about it. He said he gets it a lot.
I don't get it frequently. But
I only got it once.
I can almost tell when it's coming. It's like when I something disrupts my there's a car crash. No, I mean that's like an extreme example. But some noise or whatever that wakes me up, and then I'm trying to get back to sleep from that.
I just assume
it's not as good sleep.
I assume it's just stress induced or your brain's tired. Because I was trying to explain to him.
Some people have it way worse.
Yeah, he has it pretty bad. He says he gets it a lot. Have you ever had a fever dream?
Like when you have a fever and it makes you have a dream? Not really.
So
probably, but not that I had specifically.
I used to have really bad ones as a kid. So when I was a kid, I had hepatitis.
Really?
Yeah, and I also had so I had like, I got sick a lot, and then I think this specific time I got the tuberculosis shot, which if I test for tuberculosis right now, it'll come out positive because I still have the disease inside me. It's just
wow, really?
It's not active.
Right.
It's sleeping or whatever.
Dormant or
It's dormant.
yeah.
That's what it is. But I can't get tuberculosis now, which is the good part, right?
I guess that's good.
But I'll test positive
as long
for
as it doesn't wake up, you know.
Yeah, it's dead. But the point is that I got the shot, and that's basically giving you a small dose of tuberculosis.
Right.
So I got really sick.
I mean, that's how vaccines
I got so sick that I had a fever of a 104.
Damn. That's bad.
Yeah, so 104 is bad. 105, you're in a coma. 106, you're dead.
It's like death, yeah.
Yeah, so I had I remember this very clearly in the sense that I was sleeping, but I wasn't sleeping. Like, my body was screaming and yelling while I was dreaming. So the way I think of it is I was basically having like a hallucinogen event where I just saw a bunch of crazy shit in my eyes. But to my mom, she was just telling me that all I was doing was just screaming and just
really?
She had to hold me down.
Actually?
Yeah, because it
might have been a mild seizure.
No, it was not a seizure because I was not conscious. It was like, the way I think of it is like if you take LSD, like your brain is activated and it's pumping a bunch of chemicals back and forth, and you're seeing a bunch of stuff, and your body's moving along with that. So what I'm assuming is that my freaking brain was boiling, basically. So it's just pumping a bunch of chemicals, and I'm hallucinating. Like, how you say it? Hallucinating a bunch of shit, and my body's reacting by screaming and reacting to it, like by moving around, and that was freaking crazy. Yeah, like I could kind of imagine what I saw. Like, I saw things morph and change, and I had this sense of like fear that was really strong. Like, I think I have never been that scared in my life while I was like awake but not really.
Right.
It was really scary. But that's what we talked about last week.
Your body probably knew it was close to death.
Yeah, honestly, that could be it. And then I remember when my mom went to work, I remember being in bed and then waking up like 8 hours later. So I assumed that I went to a coma. Because honestly, like, my parents are freaking gangster. They would just be like, hey, you get over it. But I remember, the thing is that the reason I know it's at 104 is because I took the thermometer, used it, right? I saw my temperature and it was 104, and then I went to sleep. Or I just knocked out, and I woke up later, like hours later, and then I was okay.
You're lucky you woke up later.
Yeah, so the thing is that later on, because I have taken a bunch of medical classes and stuff, I somewhere said that, oh yeah, 105, you're in a coma, 106, you're dead. I'm like, I was at 104. I was at 104 point something. Like, I could have died as a kid.
Yeah, that's...
Which is crazy. But, you know, I'm here.
Well, you made it, yeah.
I made it.
I had a funny hallucinogenic experience once.
Drugs or no drugs? Sort
of, but not like
on purpose.
What people think of as drugs. So I had this was, I think it was my first year of college, and it was like basically a summer course, but it was like some one-time program thing they were offering, and it was like an intensive. It was like it started at 9 a.m. and ended at like 6 p.m. and you got like a half-hour lunch. And it was that for like 3 weeks or something, and it counted as like a full class credit. And we were supposed to be doing like, and there's a bunch of papers for the whole thing, like a full term one at the end of the. It's only a 3-week thing, but like a full semester or whatever assignment worth of papers, and then like weekly ones and daily like entries that you're supposed to do. And I was just skipping the daily entries like the whole time because I wanted to work on the other stuff, whatever I was, or I was just BSing. I don't even remember, but
procrastinating.
Yeah, probably. Towards the end of it, then I had to finish up. The daily entries were due like the second last day, all at once in like a journal format, and then the big paper was due on the last day. So I stayed up like 2 straight nights in a row, writing out all the journal entries and then writing the paper and finishing and going to the class for like most of the day. So I was up for like freaking like 55 hours straight or something. By the time the last day happened. And then it was summer, and I mostly got over it now, but I used to have really bad allergies. And we had run out of like Claritin and Zyrtec, and I was having like terrible allergy attack, like eyes watering and like couldn't like function, like sneezing every few minutes. So I took 2 Benadryl because it was the only allergy medication we had, and I still had to go to the class that day. And I was literally like hallucinating. Like I remember getting a ride there, and I'm in the car and I close my eyes and I hear my mother talking to me being like, "Are you sure you're gonna be able to go to this class today?" And I hear that, and at the same time I'm dreaming. Like,
damn,
it was so weird.
That's really bad. Your body's like half asleep. Your brain's probably knocked out one side.
And that was wild. That was a weird day.
That's speaking about dreams, because we talked about this last week with Norman. We're talking about how weird sleep is, how every animal has to basically sleep.
Yeah,
and how
we still don't really know why.
Yeah, exactly.
What does sleep do, or why we need it?
You would think it's to rest your brain, right? Because if you have a computer, you want to turn it off for a while. But I think your brain is more active when you're sleeping than when you're awake. So
REM sleep, is like high brain activity.
So it's the way I think of it is the reason you dream and the reason you have these thoughts while you're sleeping is your brain is working hard, but it's working hard sorting out all the information you obtained during the day.
Well, that's one theory about what dreams are. Is just that like why'd you dream about like your childhood friend?
I'd be having weird because
even though you haven't thought about them for 5 years. Well, it's because you were walking down the street and you weren't even paying attention, but your eyes caught it across the street. There was a kid on a scooter next to a rose bush, and you remembered that time. You that half triggered a memory in your brain, not even consciously, about when you and your childhood friend were riding scooters and you crashed into a bush. So then that night you dream
about that, or
you
something.
Dream about like being in the restaurant you ate at last week with your childhood friend, or whatever, and it just mashes together a weird sequence of events.
It's weird, and then I think it's a bunch of information being processed, and your brain trying to make sense of it once you wake up. It's just like I had a bunch of information. I'm trying to remember it. It doesn't make sense.
There's a cool thing I know from a while back. This guy. It was like some magic trick thing, or he's like a magician type guy, and he tried to stay awake for like as long as he stayed awake for like 10 days straight.
Was that guy that's always serious? I forgot his name. David Blaine. Yeah. He did the same thing.
Might have been him.
He's the one that
I only have like a vague memory of it, but
I think it is him.
The guy stayed awake for like 10 or 11 days straight or something like that.
I saw a TED Talk.
He couldn't even they couldn't even get him to like look straight by the end. He was just like, blah, like totally crazy.
I saw a TED Talk with him that he's more of a kind of like a daredevil, than a magician. For example, he tried to hold his breath for 17 minutes straight. And he did it. Like the world record was like 15 minutes, and he just like figured out a bunch of ways to do it. I don't know. He said that because he's not depriving his brain of oxygen. He's basically holding his breath and minimizing activities that his brain just his body just tries to live off the oxygen he has already.
That's already there. Yeah, it's got to be a trick though. Like
but the thing is that
5 minutes, 6 minutes is like
because he talks about it. He talks about how if there's no tube going into me, there's no this, there's no that. He's just practiced it. Eventually, he was able to achieve it, and he was not the only person. Like think about it this way: like people that free dive in the ocean, they go like 200 meters. Yeah. They're under for like 10 minutes. Yeah. Diving. Like first of all, they're active, right? They're active.
Yeah, which is really
swimming,
crazy.
And then they go into a deeper.
I guess it's something you can train, your body to do just like anything else. Mm-hmm. Those guys are crazy though because they, being that low, the pressure would blow out your sinuses. Yeah. So what they do is they breathe the seawater into their nose and let it flow in their sinuses. Ooh. They just hold the breath like how your nose is connected to your throat in the back. They tighten that part. Yeah. So that like the seawater doesn't drip down into their mouth and their throat, but it flows free like through their nose and their sinuses. That's like the way you do like a neti pot. Yeah. That's so weird. Yeah, it's crazy.
I thought that just because they're swimming slowly, they should be fine. Because I thought the problem was if you're like what's it called? Scuba diver?
Oh,
The issue when you get like the bubbles, the oxygen bubbles in your lungs.
The bends,
is when.
I just watched a thing about that actually.
I thought it was when you rise too fast.
It is, yeah.
So I assume when you're free diving, you already go as fast as possible. So it has time to.
It's because they're breathing straight air. Yeah. Whereas scuba divers breathe pure oxygen.
Okay.
I think in the tanks.
Yeah.
It's something like
so
that.
it might affect it.
Because when you breathe the pure oxygen, the
It's
air you've been
nitrogen,
breathing before, the nitrogen starts coming out of your blood.
That's crazy.
And that's what gives you the bends.
Imagine the first person to discover that. Like, oh, I'm just gonna
It was probably a bad time for that guy.
like, I'm just gonna dive in. I got my oxygen. I should be good.
Yeah.
Goes deep, comes back. I'm good, guys. Dies. Like, he just falls apart.
You know what's crazy though?
Because they don't die right away, right?
You know those old. Nah, I mean it doesn't always kill you, but it's pretty unpleasant.
Do you have like
old timey diving helmets, like the big ones?
Yeah.
And it's got like the round thing that you see on like Scooby Doo,
Yeah.
you know, and the guy's in the big suit, and it's got the tube.
Yeah.
What they used to do before they invented like scuba diving, and they would pump like surface air, and it was like a big pressurized suit.
Yeah.
So you don't need like oxygen tanks and stuff. It's air pumping down from the surface, and it's creating like a pressure bubble. But the problem was they had to pump it down at the same pressure of the level of water that you're in.
Yeah.
So like, you know, you're at regular atmospheric pressure. If you go 10 feet down, the air's not just going to go down the tube because the pressure of the water will keep it out. So they had to create pumps to do that. So to go like 100 feet down in one of those takes like incredibly powerful pumps to make that work. And then sometimes the hose or whatever would get clipped and the pressure would stop and the guys would just get crushed up into
I saw that in Mythbusters. Yeah, where you have so if you don't know what this is, it's basically like a big metal helmet.
Yeah.
And then like a soft suit and a pipe sticking up. You've seen it in SpongeBob and stuff. So
Yeah,
what happens is if you cut off the pressure, your body gets compressed into that
by the
pressure of the ocean.
level.
You have hundreds of thousands of tons of water above you. So you get pushed into the hardest surface, which is the helmet, which is all metal.
That pressurized suit would actually let you dive deeper than like modern scuba technology does. Just with this disadvantage that if anything were to happen to the hose or if the pumps were to fail, the water pressure would immediately.
That's nuts.
First of all, you'd suffocate instantly because it would evacuate all
you'll die instantly. Like you wouldn't even feel anything.
Well, yeah.
Well, I feel like as soon as it cuts, you're dead. It would just be like, you get sucked.
Jellied.
It'll be like a vacuum, like the when you vacuum meat.
Oh God.
Who was the director that went to the Mariana
James
Trench?
Cameron. Yeah.
Imagine being that guy. Like in your freaking trash can.
Yeah, that's what the modern version of that technology is. We don't like do something insane like sending someone in a suit just loose so that there's a submersible, you know, and that's the same type of thing where they pump or either
they had a tube connected to a submarine.
There are some that do that. And then there are ones that are just like, I think his was just like a free floating one. But
it's just really strong. They could contain the
you
pressure.
have to have like crazy powerful
that's crazy
construction of it.
But imagine you're under and then you hear cracks like, oh shit, we're fine.
He discovered like 3 new species just by going down there for like 10 minutes.
But you could discover new species by going out in your backyard. Because species are a weird thing where like they're not clearly defined. So you just kind of move the definition.
Slightly enough differentiation.
Or that. You could just change the definition. So you could just be like,
I suppose, yeah.
Change it a little bit. And now this species is different. It's a new species. Like if you go to like a bunch of species of ants, like they all basically look the same, do the same, but this one just slightly longer by average because they live in this region. Or actually, they might categorize them by where they live. Cause,
even though they're the same type of ant or whatever.
Yeah, so they ask themselves questions like, can these two species meet and mate? So if they can mate and meet, they're one species. But if they could meet but not mate, they're different species. But if they could mate but not meet, they're different species. So if they're divided by a mountain, but if you get them together, they could have a kid, and that kid could have kids. But they're still different species. They're still different species because they'll never meet in real life, or they'll never meet in their environment.
Oh,
so it's really weird, because you'll think that two things that could produce offspring and have the offspring produce offspring would be the same species.
Right, would be the same.
If you just switch that definition, now they're not. So when they discover new species all the time, it's really you are, but you're really not. It's
right. So you're saying it's
exaggerated.
It's very different from like
walk into
totally new life form that's never been seen before. It's not quite.
But then you have the opposite where you rediscover extinct species just because.
Yeah, like that crazy fish coelacanth, and a bunch of other ones. But like, they found like fossils of it.
Yeah.
Like
the shark.
I don't know. There's a type of fish I know of. That literally, like, they found a T-Rex and then this fish or whatever, not like really, but like there were fossils of it that were that old. And then somebody like fished one up in the 50s. Like,
yeah, I seen that. There's another one where there was this Arctic shark that lives really deep under the ice, and they knew about it because they had fossils. And then one day they just sent a camera down there and they saw one just swimming around, and they're like, wow. "Oh shit, it's just still alive." But again, like, if you're perfect in the sense that you're like evolutionary, like advanced, like you don't have problems mating or finding mates, then you just never evolve. Like, like crocodiles have been the same since the dinosaurs.
100 million.
Because they already figured it out. All we gotta do is eat and fuck. Like, it's good. And then this other species, in the sense that they are extinct because we stopped seeing them, but we're also not looking for them. So that once somebody goes looking for them, they find them.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's really weird because, again, like these not companies, but these environmental conservation programs don't really get funded that much. So if you have nobody looking for these animals, and you could just name it extinct, and then they are extinct.
Oh, I see. I read recently that made me sad. Koalas, koala bears.
Up right now?
They call them functionally extinct.
Yeah,
because the wildfires. Oh, poor Australia's covered.
Yeah, because they don't matter.
Yeah, on the map there.
You could take it out.
The wildfires were so bad. Well, it doesn't. I don't really need to see it. But there's something like 200 or more than that, 1,000. I don't remember what the number was, but like 100, like way more, like 100 times the average amount. Because they always get some brush fires, but it's like so much worse this year. Mm-hmm. It was so hot in Melbourne or something. The asphalt was sticking to people's tires because the tar was melting.
That's crazy.
And like Sydney was like. They said being outside in Sydney because so much smoke from the wildfires, just being outside for the day was like smoking like 2 packs of cigarettes a day, like the equivalent in the amount of smoke you'd inhale. So it's crazy.
Global warming.
Yeah, pretty much. But so much of the environment of the koala bear was like destroyed by the wildfires this year that like 90% of their habitat was destroyed in like 1 year.
We have them in.
So they're in habitat, and there are some left in the wild, but not enough. It's such a devastated population; they'll probably go extinct over the next few years.
Do we need them? Do we need them?
Damn, Victor.
We need the bees. But
just cold.
What the fuck does a koala do?
I don't know, man. They eat eucalyptus. Eucalyptus. What if it spreads over the whole planet and it
takes over? It's a green planet.
There's the koala bears were holding it back this whole time, and we never knew.
It's actually poisonous. Actually, it is poisonous to us. It gives us rashes. Yeah.
Isn't there there's lotion and stuff from
eucalyptus lotion? I think they take out the active.
Oh, so there's whatever.
But if you rub it on your skin, it's harmful.
Dude, it's coming for us.
Yeah.
Another thing, we failed them.
Another thing is eucalyptus has no nutritional value.
Really?
So koalas.
Is that why koalas look like little fat, little pudgy guys?
So they have to eat.
Just junk food snacking all day.
They wake up, eat that. So only eat that, go to sleep, wake up, and then when they have kids, the kids can't eat the eucalyptus, so they eat the shit of the mother. Because they need the nutritional value, but they're not. God. Their stomach is not developed enough. I think that they can't digest the enzymes. I mean, they don't have the enzymes to digest the eucalyptus.
So it's so tough or whatever.
Yeah, so tough and doesn't have a nutritional value. So they will die if they eat it. Well, they will not die, but they will not get the nutrition they need to survive. Right.
Or it's like the nutrition is so low, so they have to yeah. My girlfriend has rabbits, and
they eat like motherfuckers.
They're weird like that too. So
I could explain to you why they eat so much.
They have to eat
constantly.
Mm-hmm. Like you have to always have hay down for them because if they're not eating all the time, if their digestive system doesn't keep moving, they'll basically die.
There's that, and their
so
teeth.
They have to eat hay, and their teeth keep growing. Yeah.
But the thing is that
so they have to wear their teeth down. But even them, sometimes when they poop, they eat the poop again, so that they can digest it twice.
I mean, you could eat it if a lot of coffees come from a lot of high end coffees come from poop from animals. Because let's say an elephant eats coffee seeds, they poop out the full seed, but their enzymes destroyed the chemicals in coffee that make it bitter, so it's really smooth, nice tasting coffee.
I gotta get me some elephant poo coffee.
It's really expensive. Yeah, it's really. There's also like monkey, but it has to be an animal that eats plants though.
Right.
Because do you know why like gorillas and elephants are so big? It's because if you're a herbivore, you need a large body to have all those stomachs. Because when you eat a lot of, when you have a plant-based diet, not in humans but in animals,
that level of digestion or whatever.
Because
that's why cows have like four stomachs. Yeah.
No, 6 stomachs. I don't know, but the point is that it has to go through each chamber. It's either you have 4 stomachs or you have a really complex colon or really complex intestines.
I read a gross thing the other day. This is probably me being white and like not actually understanding another culture, but to me it grossed me out. And I didn't actually verify it. I just read it. I forget where, but there's a delicacy in Inuit culture where they hunt like the reindeer and stuff, and
do you eat the poop or something?
They cut the stomach open and like eat the partially digested like whatever grass and stuff that the thing made, because it's like pulpy so like humans can eat it
so
it's like a delicacy that when they get the kill they open it up and eat it while it's still warm from being in the animal.
So humans don't have this enzyme, right? That's why when we eat plants it's mostly for fiber, because we can't digest the cellulose.
So it just kind of what makes like woody
but animals do. So
structure of a plant.
If they eat that poop after it's been already digested, they could necessarily get the nutrition out of it.
Yeah, they don't. The rabbits. I mean, they don't do it all the time.
Yeah,
but like once in a while, it's hard to describe. It's kind of I don't know if this is gross, but they have a poop that's like different from their other poops, and then they eat that one. Because their poop is like all they eat is grass, so it's just
looks like grass.
Yeah,
right?
It's like little grass balls, and it's like. It's not like the way
ours is
where it's like wet. Like there's no water in it. Like it's all dry.
I seen cow poop because my grandparents have a farm.
People would use it as like fire fuel and stuff. Like as like primitive coal. Like
for one, it has methane in it.
I mean, there's that. Yeah, but like it comes out, but it dries up right away.
Yeah,
and it's like a clay almost.
What my grandpa used to make me do is that we had a farm and the cows would poop. Scoop it up, throw it into this big pile, and it'll dry up, and then use that as fertilizer.
Really?
Because it's
oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna end it here.
All right.
This is so the way we usually end
quite a rambling.
It's good. See, you're nervous about not knowing what to talk about, and we just sit down and talk, and it's great.
That's true.
All right, so it's been real. Like, subscribe, follow our Instagram. It'll be in the description below. Say thank you to George in the comments.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. We're gonna do another one though.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. All right, and this is where we just end the audio.